Coach Deborah has a passion and purpose to assist young men, ages 15 to 24, to overcome obstacles and build their best lives. She wants to see every young man live out their potential. She has a master's degree in human services counseling, with a major in life coaching. More importantly, she is the mother of 3 boys, who are exceptional, educated, professional men. Coach Deborah believes it is better to train early, rather than need to fix later. She utilizes basic principles and God-led concepts. Sometimes the only thing a young man has is their credibility or their name. The actions they take are based on the decisions they make. Those decisions align with their choices and result in consequences. Coach Deborah can assist you if you are lost, floundering, or confused. Embrace the help and start building your best life today.
Happy and blessed Tuesday to everyone. Welcome to Build Your Best Life. We are super excited to be on this month. Hey, the year is almost over, but we have accomplished so much this year, and we are super excited about 2024. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening, Santana. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're absolutely welcome.
Great. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Excited about this dialogue we'll have this afternoon.
Great. As I've been telling everyone, you want to get prepared and get ready for this because Santana is a great financial advisor. So you want to be prepared to get these tips that he's going to offer you today. You don't want to miss out on anything. So make sure you got pad and pen. Make sure that you share, comment, because we like to make sure, if you have any questions or whatever, feel free to put them in the chat so that we can respond to those. And it's always helpful if you will put comments and share, so make sure you do that. And thanks always for watching. This month, we are talking about reaching out for financial peace. We want to have peace in our lives and all aspects of our lives. But a lot of people for the last, I'll say 2 to 3 years, have been going through a lot of struggles in their lives, a lot of mental health issues. And sometimes, unfortunately, that is tied to their finances. They don't plan well. And when things go out of whack, a lot of people cannot handle the stress. So it is essential to learn important tips early on so that you can have peace of mind in latter years. So I think that this is a great topic that we have today for you. And it is simply be intentional. Be intentional. And of course, we are talking about, again, your financial peace. But although Santana has been on before, we would love if you would tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay, where can I start? Born and raised in Jacksonville, graduate of Raines High School, graduate of Florida A&M. Been a CPA now for almost 25 years, and have the assignment of advisory services for high net worth individuals. And so it's just been a fun time. I've been an entrepreneur now for over 20 years. So I think that's pretty much it. It covers the gamut. Husband and I have a lovely wife, Tiffany, and I think everything that I went on in life of God, it seems to be allowing me to experience. So that's pretty much all I can say at this point.
All of that is positive, good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Thank you, Peggy, for tuning in. And we are talking about be intentional, and it's all about financial peace today. Being at peace is wonderful. Financial peace is invigorating. Gaining that peace takes work, though, and we must be intentional.
Feel like you have tomorrow, and so you're going to live today. You're going to you're going to keep living, and I'll put off retirement. You know, I'm going to be. I'm too young for that. And what happens is when you feel like you're too old for that, you don't have enough time to cover the gap. And it's just those that just like spending. I mean, money is addictive to a lot of people. Just to the thrill of going to the mall. I mean, right now, for those that are spenders, this is the greatest month of the year. I mean, Christmas, the ability to have the resources. You say like he just seemed familiar to you. It just it's just I gotta have it. I mean, a lot of times it feeds into your background when didn't have the ability to do things. Growing up, there was scarcity of monetary resources, and now you're in a position where you can do some things for your family, friends, and for yourself. You almost It's almost like a psychological ploy you play on yourself because you're now buying everything you wanted to convince yourself you're not the person you once were. And so you're it's amazing how your childhood can impact your adulthood because you're still trying to silence the voices of your past, and so you're spending. And but one thing that I've learned, and I want to say this to the audience, is that the group of people in my age group, which I'm now 50, we're going to be the first group without a pension. Our company is not going to have a pension, and so you're gonna only be able to eat what you killed. You don't have the parachute of the company saying because you've been so loyal, because you've been a great employee, we're going to ensure that your financial future is secure when you retire. So when you get to that point of being ready to retire, I've worked as long as I should have worked. My body is now tired. It's going to be what you have in your 401k that you're going to then be living off of. And it's not until it's over that it's over. Meaning, if you got whatever money you put aside and your company is matched, and then now you realize for the next 25 to 35 years of my life while I'm in retirement, this is all I got. And that's when you get to that point, there's nothing else. You can't change it. It is. I mean, you've sealed your fate. And so I hope that people become more cognizant of retirement and secure and be more, as the term you use, be more intentional with securing their financial future. Because if you get to 55, maybe even 50, and you haven't started putting serious money away, you're going to be in trouble when you get to retirement. So fixed income is fixed income, and your life is fixed. So you're forced to work backwards in terms to adjust to what you have or run out of what you have because you don't want to make the adjustment. So it is really imperative that people start becoming more financially responsible because the companies are not taking on that responsibility anymore.
Yes, you are so right. And I actually talked about that on Saturday, stating about people not um, having those pensions anymore. And, so it's very, very important, like you said, to not sit around and say, well, I'm too young. I don't need to start saving for retirement. I don't need to get in this 401k. I can't afford it. And when you really can't afford not to get in those 401ks, when most of these companies are matching, you know, part of the funds in those.
But it's a totally different concept. The reason why financial planners was introduced, the whole profession, is because in the 70s, companies started making the transition from defined benefits or pensions to defined contributions. And that at that point, people needed more to be more intentional or strategic with trying to secure their financial future. So as long as it was, hey, my company got a retirement plan. If I stay here 25 years, this is what I'm going to have. The pressure was on the company. Now the company is saying, hey, we can't carry that responsibility. Now what we will do is we'll match, 3% or whatever you contribute, or 3% of your salary. We'll match that, or we'll put that into your 401k retirement plan. Now if you're blessed enough to be, what they consider a highly compensated employee, somebody making over 150, then sometimes companies have different, deferred compensation plans and that kind of stuff for those key employees. But if you're not at the top of the food chain of your corporation, then if you're not intentional, then the lifestyle you live is going to be the lifestyle you've prepared for, and sometimes it's going to be far short than what you're used to.
All right. Uh, Good evening, Agnes, Peggy, Dan. Thank you all for tuning in. We are talking about be intentional. And Santana, I want to know, at what age should individuals start being intentional about their finances? Is there like a good age?
Well, it's like I asking a school, at what point should you start learning a foreign language? You
Mhm.
know, as early as you start, the better and more fluent you become in that particular language. Finances is a language. I think um, finance is not as spooky and mysterious as people think. It's more about behavior. So how soon you introduce yourself to the behavior, to being financially prudent, the easier it becomes as the years go on. So I would say as soon as the young man or woman knows how to add and subtract and read, then the introduction to finances should be done. Um, First of all, if you can expose your child to a bank account, a debit card, and let them just get used to, okay, I put $100 in, and then if they get comfortable with the process of what should I spend my money on. So if I got $100 in Christmas coming, do I empty out my entire bank account as a child to buy mom or little brothers? Because if you get in that habit of saving, it's not how much you have, it's the practice of always doing leaving certain percentages in the account. So if I got $100 and I'm 7 years old, and my parents tell me, well, I'm not going to allow you to spend every dollar out of your account for Christmas. You need to save at least 10%. Those type of habits just grow as the money grows. So the earlier, the better, because you want to be kind of fluent with it as you get to the point that you're really in your earning years. So even when you're in college, you have to know how to manage your student loan money. Or if your parents are giving you money on Friday, well, you can't go Friday straight to the mall, buy some clothes, and then you don't have any food in the refrigerator for the rest of the week. So these kind of things, and you see it, and you see it. Some kids are just like, I'm gonna force my parent to send me more money because I'm gonna spend what they're putting in the account. So then it's, and if the point, you look like you just seem familiar to you. Uh, and if the parent is always the bailout, then the child does not learn how to operate under a budget. So um, you just gotta, it is intentional with your finances. Is you should start at an early age. You should start with a bank account. I mean, you have Excel spreadsheets. You have so many different softwares out there now to help the child know exactly what I spent my money on. Like, okay, if I get $100 allowance every month, and they're telling me I got to manage this for the month, then a couple of months when your parents don't give you money when you run out of money, then you start making different decisions. Now, it's a problem if the parents bail you out, or if the mom, if the mom says, "Don't tell your dad, but I'm gonna give you some more money. Don't put it in the bank." See, all those subliminal opportunities to get outside of what your finances actually allow you to do will eventually create bigger problems.
Okay. Yes, and then as adults, sometimes we learn the hard way by our mistakes, but it's important, like you say, early. So those things that we do learn, and when we learn, to pass them on to our children, because the things that I learned the hard way about credit cards and having them and having a bunch of credit cards and thought, oh, I had arrived because I had all these credit cards, and that was just the devil. I had not arrived. I had got in debt, is what I had done. But I taught my sons after I learned, and it was like my youngest son, I had to force him to get a credit card. He would not get a credit card after I told him, all the things that I learned. But I was like, okay, get one, charge something on it, and just pay it off that month so you can build a little bit of credit. So I actually had that card. He didn't even possess the card, but he learned from my mistakes.
But see, so people like, well, what is the bad part of having a credit card? And so you really don't see the danger of credit cards until you get older. And I say this. So I think in this dialogue, I'm speaking to two different demographics. One is the young men, which you're targeting, but two is also persons in our age group and older. When you begin to rely on credit cards, so say that you're age 60, and so every time you need something, you put it on your credit card. Say, for instance, at 64, you have a house and your AC unit goes out. You turn 65, so you put say a $10,000 AC unit on your credit card. You go into retirement at 65. Where are you going to get the money to really ever pay that credit card? Because now you're gonna go into a fixed income opportunity. Your life is now fixed. So the reason why it's always talked about on not using credit is because eventually you're going to find yourself in a position where you may not be able to handle the credit you've amassed. So they say, okay, what you need to do is start to discipline your spending, put 3 to 6 months emergency fund aside so that when an emergency comes, you can take that money in the emergency fund and pay that bill. And that bill is not coming with a bill with interest, and then it's stress, putting additional stress on your finances. So if you're single, they say have 6 months cash reserve. So that's 6 months of bill money separate. If you're married with two incomes, then it's 3 months. But the goal is to have cash, what you're talking about with your son. The goal is to have cash to address emergencies. We mostly use credit to handle emergencies. Mm-hmm. And then when we put the money on the card, we never really have a real game plan on how to get rid of the debt. I got this thing that I came up with when I was at St. Paul is debt is doing everything before time. Meaning most of the time when you have to get debt, it's because you don't have the cash to get what you want. Well, I'm not saying that I'm against debt. I'm saying that you should have debt with a strategy. Most people don't have a strategy when they have debt. They don't get into it determining how they're going to get out of it. So if you put this $10,000 for your AC unit, have you talked to yourself or your spouse about what is our strategy to pay this off? And so you end up with $10,000. You still just paying the interest on that 5 years later. And the credit card company has no problem, but you're on fixed income. So you're steady exhausting your your fixed income, which has a very minimal cost of living adjustment, and you don't have no way to get out of this debt. So the practices of your son is good because that suggests that he has an adequate cash reserve that when things come up, he's able to pay for the cash and not use credit.
Okay, good. Y'all heard it. I told you y'all were going to get some good information tonight. Right. So I have heard that most people don't have budgets. They know the amount of income that they have coming in, and they're thinking in their minds, oh, everything will get paid, so I don't need a budget. So is it possible to manage your finances and not have to worry about overspending without a budget?
I think it's impossible because I don't even know a major corporation that does not operate without a budget. The budget gives you the ability to assign your money to the proper places. You have to know where your money is going. And every person that I've ever sat down with that does not have a budget, they 99.9% of the time they think they have more than they do. And it's not until you write it down and see where the money is actually going that you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that. Like, man, it looks totally different now that I look at it on paper. And most of the time, people don't want to do a budget because it makes them really have to look at themselves. So people run from budgets because they run from accountability. And they ever seen that commercials or statements say you can't handle the truth? A lot of times people can't handle the truth that, yes, I thought I was doing well, but I'm not doing as well as I thought. It's almost like if there's similarities between doctors and advisors and everything. Like sometimes I know a lot of people that thought they were doing well health-wise until they went and took a physical and did blood work. Doing a budget is almost equivalency of doing blood work. Like you got to look and see what every line item says about how you're doing in your financial health. And a lot of people try to run away from really looking at it. And so you can tell a person you're doing well if you never sit down and look at your finances. Well, what is well? I'm saving money. Well, if you're making $1,000 a week and you're only saving 50, are you really doing good with your finance? Or are you just happy that at the end of the month, your bank account is not in a negative and you were able to pay all your bills? Or are you happy that at the end of the month, you had saved 10 to 15% of your net income? So the budget, you got to have a budget because you got to know where your money is going. It's just financially irresponsible not to tell each dollar where it should be going. Now, does it always go there? No. But at least you started off with a plan. I mean, stuff happens, but you have to. Every person that is working for a company, I can assure you that their company has a budget. They didn't just wake up and say, we're going to do raises today because we just feel like it and we feel like we're doing okay financially. They're gonna revert back to the budget. They're gonna revert back to the profit and loss statement, and they're gonna see, does the profit of the company concretely suggest that they're able to do the things additionally that they want to do.
All right.
So budgets are mandatory. Budgets are mandatory. There's just no way, no how you can successfully navigate your financial situation without having a budget.
All right, budgets are mandatory. Everyone should have a budget. So if you don't currently have a budget, come 2024, are you gonna have one?
Well, this is a holiday footnote. You should have a budget for your holiday spending. You should not just wake up and get everything you want to get without having a budget. And you should not fund all of your holiday excursion on a credit card, because the question becomes, how are you going to pay the credit card off as the new year rolls around? So even live out your Christmas excursions with intentionality in terms of knowing what you're going to spend, how you're going to afford it, and if you're going to put it on a credit card, how are you going to pay it off?
Good advice. Say that one more time, Santana.
One more time. For the holiday season, you need to live with intentionality. Start with a budget, know how you're going to fund the budget, and if you have to use a credit card, know how you're going to pay the credit card off.
Amen. All right, because that's I like to spend. Santana, no, I like to spend for Christmas. I like to spoil my grandbabies, but I save all during the year for it.
But that is fine if you're willing to make, the current sacrifice for future pleasure. And I think you can't have current pleasure and future pleasure without sacrifice. It's going to cause a financial mess. So if people you sacrifice for what you want. And that doesn't mean that you have any financial limitations. It just means like this money that I'm going to spend either I'm going to create more money to pay for it, or if I'm on a fixed income strategy, I'm going to reduce what I'm spending so I can do what I want, for whether it's Christmas or cruises or vacation, like something. If the pot is $1,000, is not going to grow. So I have to figure out what I got to reduce to do something else here or there. And that's what we call intentionality. First part is accepting the pot, and if you don't accept the pie, then either you're going to work part-time or do something to increase that. And if it's a young man, like if you don't like the pie you're living off of, then you got to figure out how to make the pie larger. And that's through education. That's through better employment. So if you're not satisfied with the budget or satisfied with what the budget says, then be willing to make the adjustments to get a better budget.
Makes sense. All right. Is there a point in one's life that they don't have to be concerned about their financial well-being? This
is a kind of a unique question to answer, because I would start this answer where that person would have to find what their level of contentment is. And you say, because when you do a financial plan, you ask an individual to determine what lifestyle they're comfortable with. And once they establish what lifestyle they're comfortable with, then you see if you as the planner, you see if they've accumulated enough assets to have that lifestyle sustainable. So the question becomes, if they're committed and they have accumulated a number of assets based on the life expectancy to live out at that level of life, then that's when you're at a point where you don't have to be concerned about financial well-being. But in saying that, you have to stick with the plan during the course of your retirement years. So it is if you get $4 million today and you don't commit to a lifestyle, you can run out of that money. So it's not a number, it's a contentment level, and making sure what lifestyle you're comfortable with. You've amassed enough assets to sustain that through the rest of your projected life expectancy. So the answer is yes, but the answer also is, can you stay financially prudent during the course of that period and not fall off fall off the apple cart. Don't just wake up one day and want 2 or 3 cars or want a new house. So that answer is what I would say is fluid. It depends on your ability to stay disciplined with the established lifestyle and making sure the appropriate assets have been saved that allows you to sustain that lifestyle for the remainder of your life.
Okay, thank you for that. This is some great information. Great information. Please make sure that you are sharing this because I know there are a lot of people that are not on here that would benefit greatly from this information. So please make sure that you share. Choices have consequences. Choices have consequences. And if we choose to ignore our finances sooner rather than later, we may find ourselves in some very uncomfortable places. So, Santana, as we prepare to close out, can you please share some tips to assist people, especially our young men, in managing their finances as they strive to build their best lives?
Well, the first thing I said, and I've said it earlier, is one, open a bank account. It is so many people that still in 2023 that do not have bank accounts. Putting your money in a shoebox under your bed is not the best thing to do because you need to get money. It said the money is currency. It means money flows. It flows through banks. It flows to places. You need to be comfortable using the financial system that is in place as of today. Open a bank account. Study for the first, when you open a bank account, study how you're spending the money for the first 60 days. So you have a realistic expectation for what it takes and where you can cut back. Because you may find as a young man, like, wow, I go out to eat, I'm doing this. And so I can cut back here to save. The second thing is read as many books as you can. Read as many books as you can regarding finances. My third point would be do what you love to what you love produces the life you desire. It's yes, day one, what you're doing may not provide it, but if you master it, if you become proficient at what you do, the money will come. And that's gonna be my challenge with young men today is that everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants it now. Whether it's through, I mean, social media is really challenging young men and women today because it's so many people posting stuff where they're driving the best car and they got the best house and so you see that stuff and the pressure of wanting it now is starting to make people that not want to go through the process. You don't want to get the wealth before you're mentally able to handle it. So once again, open your account, read books, start with your budget. I don't care if the budget says, okay, it's a spreadsheet and the first line says my net income is this. And you write out the bills you have to pay, even if it's in the negative, start it and then work till you get it in the positive. Start with a bank account, start with books, start with a budget as simple as it may be. It may be I get $100, I spend $50 on food, I go to the movie for $15, and then I got $25 left. Just get in the habit of doing it is important. And then find out when you're young what you love. And then work that process until it produces the lifestyle you desire. I think what I've seen most now is that a lot of people do things because it says this job pays this amount of money or it pays that amount of money. But then they get into the job and they find like I'm not happy. And so you got to break yourself down. Like, how do I get to the job I want to do, but I got bills now. I got a lifestyle now. So I'm handcuffed. I had to go to handcuffs on me because I'm at a job because of the lifestyle, but I'm not happy. So the great thing is if you can find out what makes you happy early on, while you don't have that financial dynamic going on, you build that piece of your life out so that when you're in your young, you could be staying at home as a young man. And I say this too. My number one financial tip was if you're in an environment that's conducive for you to stay at home and your parents are on board, would you stay home as please listen to me. Stay home as long as possible so you can build some cash up. For any young man on this line, humble yourself, stay at home, and save you some money. I would be remiss if I didn't get that tip out. Stay at home, build, and even if you have to pay some money to your parents, if they require some amount of rent to be paid, that's fine. But stay at home. Hopefully, you'll get some warm cooked meals for free every now and then. But stay at home. You don't have the pressure to rent and this and that. Stay at home and get you 3 months to 6 months of savings before you run out here and get an apartment. Because once the bills start, they never stop. So as long as you can hold that ticker from starting, stay at home, build, save as much as you can. And it's easier to get an apartment when you have cash to pay for furniture. You have first and last month rent, and all that is put aside, and you're not scratching, you're not borrowing from anyone, and you can transition smoothly. Or even better, you move from your parents' house and get into a first time home buyer program, move directly into a home. But stay at home to build yourself up that when you leave home, you never have to go back. That would be my last tip. That would, to end the day, the way a young man can build their best life. If you graduate from college or you graduate from high school, you have a job, and your parents are on board with you staying at home, stay at home and save you some money.
I agree. I certainly agree. And Santana, also, can you tell young men? I know I think a lot of them also make the mistake. Yeah, they want to move, but when they begin to look for a place, they may see something. Oh, apartment, $1,300. Oh, I can afford $1,300, but they don't think about all the other stuff that goes with that they need. Tell them all what all goes with the $1,300. It's more than $1,300 a month.
Well, I think this is when you get back to the whole concept of a budget. You don't go and get an apartment without starting with what is your net income? Okay. Um, Rent. I mean, how much is your rent? Is it going to be based on your net income? You probably shouldn't go over 30% over what your net income for the month. So if your rent, if you only bring it home 2,600, and then and you go get $1,000 rent, you only have 1,600. So you're gonna have utilities. If you have a car payment, things are going to be very limited. So you have to be honest with yourself. Like you can't want to have your own place and then put yourself in a pinch where it's going to require other people to subsidize your life. That's unfair, and that's unfair to your parents, especially if they've helped you to save money and then you go out and jump in something that is going to require them to help you to stay in it. That's unfair. They've already subsidized your life and tried to give you a step up, and then you're going to keep putting the pressure on them by not being able to be honest about what you can afford. So it goes back to the budget. If you see an apartment, you plug those numbers in to see if it's going to put a burden on you or if it's sustainable.
Yep.
But if you've been, let's be honest. If you making $26,000, $30,000, and you stay at home for 12 months, 3 to 4 months, and not even be pressed about rent. But do you blow the opportunity as a young man when you're staying at home and just buy the highest priced tennis shoes and outfits, and then when the moment comes, you're not ready? So you don't get it but like 2 or 3 times in life to kind of right your wrong with your finances. You can either get a major promotion, you can get a major promotion on work, you can be at home with your parents, or sometime if you marry someone and you all have the same financial aspirations, when you're combining two incomes, but you keep expenses low, you have a chance to build as a couple. So there, like three different, or if someone passes away and your family leave you some money, you may use that opportunity to get yourself out of financial um, depravity. But even when you get those sudden lump sums of money, you gotta have the right mindset, or you'll just take it and blow it on something.
All right.
So if you can start early and make it become a part of your DNA, learn the language of finances, may have a passion. I mean, for me, it was nobody really around me that understood finances. I just understood I just didn't like being broke. And so I learned and watched and just understand this is adding and subtraction at the end of the day. I mean, I can remember going to 12th grade. I wanted to have nice school clothes, and I worked at Pick and Save, Pick and Save on 8th at Main Street.
Okay.
Yeah, I unloaded trucks. Then I went to Winn Dixie. So what I did, I wanted it so bad, I saved every check. I cashed the first check, and I walked home. I wouldn't even catch the city bus. I walked from 8th Street down to Merle Avenue, 8th and Main, so I wouldn't have to cash my checks. And I stacked them all up. I had like 7 checks, and I cashed it right before school started. And I just started learning like these are the things you have to be willing to do to control your financial destiny. Is just educate. I started reading books on how to go to college. So I learned if you were independent, meaning that you made over $3,000 for 2 years in a row and your parents didn't claim you, you could file independence and get more financial aid, get the Pell Grant and whatever subsidy. And so going into my sophomore year in college, I was able to get money as an independent. But that wasn't anybody told me. I just read. Like, the things you want to do as a young man. You can't use where you're at to limit what you do. I mean, I had a grandmother with a sixth grade education. My mom had me in high school. My daddy wasn't around. And so if I took the limitations, I would have just crumbled. I just say that whatever I can read to get myself out of this, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna sit here and blame life circumstances. I'm gonna turn my lemons into lemonade by opening me some books up and reading. That's what. So that's one of the things I struggle with the young men today is it's so many people that are successful had the challenges they have. But I think in our generation we took it as a challenge, not as a limitation. Like, okay, I'm not gonna sit here and say every day that I don't have the same background you have. I remember going to Stanton and we get science projects. And I'm like, man, everybody else, parents are doctors and lawyers. Her grandmother got a sixth grade education. Like, this is not fair. Like, they home and their parents are helping them do the volcano or whatever. I got to figure this out myself. And all my grandma would say, well, baby, the Lord gonna make a way. I said, all right, that ain't gonna help me with this homework assignment. But in doing so, it made me be able to say, hey, nobody's gonna get you out of this situation.
Right.
It's no bailout plan. I didn't have a Miss Deborah D. Smith to help me with my homework. It was nobody, whatever assignment I had to go home and figure it out. It wasn't gonna get no better. Nobody in the family was gonna help me. I literally night after night, we had to sit down and get over my feelings that I had nobody to help me and figure it out. But then fast forward, when you run in a company and you're having to make decisions and figure stuff out, it became a part of my learned behavior to do it myself. And that's what I'm saying with finance. The earlier you develop that trait, that gene of finances, then it becomes easier to navigate your financial future. So all of this stuff when finances is learned behavior. They have a whole section in financial planning called behavioral finance, meaning before you get into the actual nuts and bolts and finances, you got to understand why you think about money the way you do. What are your fears? What are your concerns? And how do you overcome that before? Because most finances is mental. It's mental. I mean, it's this is mental. Don't let nobody tell you it's just spooky stuff. At the end of the day, if you save enough money, you invest it, you manage your lifestyle. When you get to retirement, you should be okay. But if you don't put the money away, a seed, the earth can't grow a seed if a seed ain't in the ground.
That's right.
So if you haven't put the seeds in the ground, you can't expect nothing to grow. So start with putting your seeds in the ground and trust God. That's what this. Your seed is your talent, and your seed is your monetary resources. Put them in the ground, cultivate them, and watch you be financially prudent as you get older.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. You heard those tips. Um, they're there in the comment section. Please, please, please make sure that you share this broadcast. It is on YouTube and Facebook, and it will be there from now until YouTube and Facebook go away. So please, please, please share and have others get this great information, especially our young men, because not only do they need to be financial savvy for themselves, but hopefully one day they want to take care of somebody's daughter and have their family. So they need to, be able to do this and have the right financial literacy in order to have that financial peace and know the steps to take. And that reading is so important. You can learn so much with reading. So I was so happy to hear Santana say that. I believe in reading. If you need to know something, I'm not saying that you're going to learn everything, but whatever you need, there's a book out there that will assist you. So Santana, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I know you are very, very busy, so I really appreciate you taking the time to do this tonight. And as I told everybody on Saturday, I gave them some tips, Santana, but I told them, I said, I am not a financial expert. I said, but on Tuesday, I'm going to have somebody on. So please tell them, how they can get in contact with you, because you are awesome. And I have to say, he is my financial advisor, as well as he is my boss. He's president of Centurion Financial Services, and he's been doing it big. It's 25 years now, and that says a lot. So take it from me. If I say it, that's the truth. So tell them how they can get in contact with you.
Well, you can reach me on Instagram, CFS_03. Website is cw-advisor.com, and email. Probably best to reach me on the first two that I gave. And I will say this one book, when I was starting to really get involved in finances, was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I liked it for many different reasons. One, it made a very good depiction of The smart dad didn't necessarily build wealth because he was all about the books, but the dad that worked every day knew how to make money. And I say that because it's not all, and especially in this era, it's not all about going to college. But if you have a skill or a trait and you know how to make money, you can become that rich dad. And so for the young men, if you ever have time, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because it's not just one way to build wealth and to make money. You know, school is not always the right course for everyone. So don't beat yourself up if you don't feel college is for you, but understand what it is you want to do and go for it. There's a lot of people that have gone directly to the military that have done well with their lives. So just read. I would think for all the young men, Rich Dad, Poor Dad would be a great book because it really kind of opens your eyes to the fact that it is a lot of smart people without any money. I'm just going to say that because they're about theory and not application. And when you're talking about making money, it's about application.
All right. And so we had a comment up there. Great information to build your finances. And then there's the name of the book again, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So again, thank you all for tuning in today. Please join me on Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My topic is going to be focus. So if you are available, please tune in. If you're unavailable, remember you can always see the rewind if you go out on YouTube, Build Your Best Life with Deborah D. Smith, or my Build Your Best Life business page, Build Your Best Life with Deborah D. Smith on Facebook. Please make sure that you check out my website, www.buildyourbestlife.org. That's www.buildyourbestlife.org. Read the blog that comes out each Monday at 10 a.m. Check out our calendar of events as well. Check out the services that I offer. I'm a life coach, so I do consultations, coaching, speaking, webinar speaking as well. You can get an autographed copy of my book, Build Your Best Life. And this book is about your life, your actions, and your credibility, overcoming obstacles to build your best life. Because it's like Santana said, you don't have to be stuck where you are. You don't have to be the same as your past, but you can read, focus, know what you love to do, and put in the work, get that budget done. And you can be successful. So you got to put some work into it and do it. So that's what it's all about. So please come back on and share with us again. Remember, as you go along your busy day, there may be a young man that has lost his way. Don't shake your head or steady your pace. Stop, reach out, and assist that young man and give him a helping hand. If we all reach out, we can help so many more people. So that's what it's all about. So again, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope to see you on Thursday. Again, Santana, thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Love you. And remember, building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan. It's our commitment. I love you. Be blessed. Stay safe. And I'll be looking for you on Thursday. Good night.